This week in Revolt Black News, we spotlight the humanization of blackness in America. Now we do that not because we want to, but because we have to. From the fatal shooting of a 20-year-old young man not too far from the exact spot that George Floyd was murdered, to a harmless veteran and patriot who proudly served his country only to come home and be tased for being black. So y'all, it's time to talk about the only thing that seems to really move this racist-ass country, and that is the money. Because see, there's bags out there, and the bread, it's actually being stacked quite high, and it's all being done in the name of our pain and our alleged humanity. But the question that many in the culture are asking is this: where and how exactly is all that money going to humanize blackness and make Black lives actually matter? See, Black Lives Matter, it's now a mainstream thought and a commercial slogan, right? So now it's time to have the very uncomfortable but necessary conversation, all in hopes of gaining some comfortable solution. We want to know, how are all those dollars going over? Because all too many Black lives are innocently, tragically, and frequently going under. Welcome to Revolt Black News. I'm your host, Eboni K. Williams. Now here's the thing, y'all. The culture is doing a lot of talk about where is the money that is being raised off of the backs of Black tragedies that are occurring at the hands of law enforcement. Listen, we got to break it down here at Revolt Black News because we know that so many of our loved ones, see, they deserve restitution, and the culture deserves solutions. And yet here we are, time and time again, seeing the same damn thing over and over. Black folks getting killed by law enforcement and nothing being done about it. So here to help me get to the bottom of this is Eric Garner's daughter, Miss Emerald Snipes Garner. Also with us, friend of the show and host of Straight Shot No Chaser over on the Black Effect iHeartMedia podcast, Miss Tezlyn Figaro. Welcome both you queens to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Emerald, I want to start with you, dear. Again, first and foremost, I won't even pretend to understand the imaginable pain that you are feeling and that you are still feeling some 7 years after the loss of your father to police brutality. And we all saw the video. It was truly horrific. And then I must imagine, Emerald, every time you see another Black life taken by law enforcement on video, it must do something to bring that heartbreak back up again. Now, in terms of the money that is being raised, in order for us to see some progress about Black Lives Matter, you yourself, you're doing a lot of work. I'm putting a lot of energy behind trying to get the Eric Garner law passed. And that law would actually put a federal ban on chokeholds by cops. Very important piece of legislation. Tell us, if you get the money that you're seeking, how that money works, Emerald, to make sure that the legislative efforts are put in place. Connect the dots for us.
You know, when it comes to my situation, I feel like my father's murder was, that's the most tragic thing that I felt, throughout my whole life. And as a direct result of that, I lost my sister. So I think that we need to start where the mental health issues are concerned. As far as people, saying that the funding, where's the funding going? My strategy is to allocate the funding towards mental health services. Us as survivors, us as victims of police brutality, we need mental health services. So that's the beginning of where we should start to allocate those funds, because once our loved ones are killed, we are put directly in front of a camera. We're put directly in front of a reporter. We are put in front of a journalist who wants to talk about our story, but we're not put in front of a therapist who will help us work through our issues. And a part of those issues not being worked on, those become our everyday struggles.
Where does the money go, Emerald, in your experience? And where would you like to maybe see a better job of that money distribution around mental health services? Meaning if someone, tragically we'll use the example of Brother Wright's family, who is right now in this moment dealing with his loss. If they picked up the phone and contacted an organization that does this work, where would they be directed to from your experience? And if there's no place, how do we change that?
In my direct experience, I have received services through Medicaid, through when I was in college, through BMCC. I was able to be connected with a therapist almost 2 years later. So there isn't a place. So I created the We Can Breathe nonprofit organization. You can visit wecanbreathe.net to get some more information about it. But this is an organization that has just started. We just received our 501c3 status, and my first initiative is to hire a mental health therapist who can be, virtually available, if not physically available, for someone who is in the situation of Dwayne Wright's family right now. Like, I don't feel like it's too late for myself. I don't feel like it's too late for other victims who have suffered police brutality. But I think that there's a way that we can fund a therapist to be on site, not just, partner or just ask someone to donate time. Right now, we need someone specifically assigned to deal with this type of trauma, this type of issue.
Why is the pot that's already collected not being distributed in real time right now? And listen, I want to be really clear. Tez, this is not about calling out anybody. I certainly believe that everybody should be able to live a comfortable lifestyle based off of the work that we do, and this is important work as well. But I don't understand why young Miss Emerald is over here talking about people going to her website to make donations for basic needs to support trauma victims when there's $100 million+ already supposedly for that kind of work. Tezlyn, please explain it to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand it too. One thing about having a nonprofit is you have accountability to the public. You are you should be responsible enough to answer the questions on where the money is going. When folks say, well, I don't really have to do that. Well, you kind of do, because a nonprofit is a public entity, whether that is a small nonprofit that Emerald is starting or a major nonprofit like Black Lives Matter Global. Either or, it is a public entity. And that's the reason why you do not have to pay taxes. That is the reason why you get the breaks. And so if you are not managing that appropriately and being transparent according to how the IRS has set it up, the public can demand, that nonprofits be dismantled based upon how things are managed. If you accept anything from the public to fund your organization, you have a responsibility of transparency. The bag is there. The question is, who's managing the bag?
That's what I'm saying, Tezlyn. Right. The bag is there. We all see the bag, right?
Right, and who you're giving it to.
A final question to wrap this up, ladies, because we know we could be here all day about it. Tezlyn, I want to ask you this. If someone came to you, and I personally think you would be a good person for them to come to, and say, we have X amount of millions of dollars, we would like to distribute it and allocate it in a way that is most impactful for the community, what would be some of your action items?
I would first recommend that we reinvest back into the families who are most affected, see who really wants to run these foundations, give them the hired expertise, attorneys, consultants, publicists, all of the things that they need to be successful, hold the family just as accountable for how they manage those funds would be the first thing. And then the second thing would be, again, starting these group think tanks or whatever it is we want to call it, to employ lobbyists, to employ legal students so that they can write journals, so that they can write essays, so they can publish their work, to talk about how do we hit this on every level, from our educational institutions as well as from our government, local and state. And then the third thing would certainly be giving those resources that goes back to impact the family as a whole. Because if the argument is just, I want to get resources to help 50 families, the argument is going to get stopped because it's only 50 families. Although they deserve it and need it, if we're going to say we need mental health resources this will be my strategy, not only for the victims of police brutality, but we need $10 million for the victim of anybody that's been shot or paralyzed or killed, because it allows us to have a broader argument to get more money to get invested. And that doesn't mean, because we know what can happen with that, the money doesn't go to the victims that it's intended to, it ends up going in other places. So I get that too. But I'm saying, when we're talking about the type of money that we need and to get the public to engage in what our ask should be, we have to make sure that it is impacting more than one specific family.
Tezlyn, you know how I feel about you and the work that you do here at Revolt Black News. We always appreciate and welcome your thoughts. Ms. Emerald, our hearts and minds go out to you and everything you've endured, and we appreciate the work that you continue to do. All right, y'all, now next up we have this week's headlines. We've got more Revolt Black News after this.